Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Torah L'chaim with your host, Rabbi Anibal Mas. It's almost Shavuot. Shavuot will start tonight. So welcome to all of you who still wants to study a little bit of Torah before the Chag begins. It's a great thing when we're about to receive the Torah from Mount Sinai. It's the anniversary of God giving us the Torah, and it's an amazing thing. I apologize in advance if this sounds a little weird today. I'm using a different microphone, and I will explain what's going on here. Some of the things may look a little different, and it's because we are making plans to make this class a hybrid class. It's going to be an opportunity for people to come and listen to the class in person. And so we'll see. We wanted to do it from the Asper campus, so we're going to see how it's going to go. But that means that I have to embed everything on the software that I use. Everything is online. It may sound and look a little bit different today. It's a test. We're going to see how it's going to work. But I'm very excited to have the opportunity to have people in front of me. But for all of you who take the class online, you rely on this class being online, don't worry. Everything is going to continue the way it is from your end. But it's also going to be an opportunity for people to come in person. So welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to David and Brenda Grossman, Rocky Pollack, Amparo Goldman, and Maggie Harris. Who else is there? Just let me know. Say hello here. I'm going to check here on my device how it's everything looking there. It looks like so far so good. So how is everybody doing? Did you make any preparations for Shavuot? Are you doing anything tonight? Are you going to a tikkun? Did you get your cheesecake? Did you get your blintzes? Let me know how you're going to celebrate Shavuot tonight. Welcome, Karen Farkas. Welcome to the class. I want to know what people are going to do. Are you going to go to shul tonight, tomorrow morning? Remember, on Saturday, it's going to be interesting because it's Shabbat and Shavuot. So that means that we are going to have Iskor on Saturday morning, which is, it doesn't happen too often to have Shabbat and Iskor at the same time. Welcome, Randy. Randy Lodinger is here with us as well. Great to have you. So, in our end at Sherry Zedek on Saturday, we're going to have so many different things. We have Shavuot, of course, Shabbat, Iskor, but we also have the graduation from the Choosing Judaism class, also known as conversion classes, but we call it Choosing Judaism. So there was a group of people who are graduating, and they're going to be there receiving their certificates and being welcomed by the entire community. So if you want to be in person, please come to say hello, to welcome these people. And if you can make it online, just do it online and welcome them in the chat. Okay? So, Brenda Grossman, you said baked chocolate chip, challah, and challah. Okay. Oh, baked chocolate chip, challah. That's a good thing. Wow. Very nice. Very nice. So, we are going to begin with the class today. As I mentioned before, I want to talk about Shavuot. So we all understand what we are celebrating, and we can get even more prepared for the celebration of Shavuot tonight. And one of the things that we have to remember is that the festival of Shavuot means the festival of the weeks. So it's all related to the 7 weeks between Pesach and the festival of Shavuot, okay? That's the beginning. The name is kind of confusing because the name of the festival doesn't really tell us what's happening on that festival, right? And I will explain a little bit more about that. So let me bring my text here, and this is where you have to be a little, I like it like this. There you go. There you go. So, let's study about Shavuot. So, we have to understand that this festival is called by the Torah the festival of Shavuot. That's the name that the Torah is giving us, okay? The festival of the weeks, because it comes after the completion of 7 weeks. You understand that it doesn't say much there. In fact, I think so let me explain this. The very name Shavuot weeks, which the Torah uses to refer to the holiday, refers to the fact that it represents the culmination of a process of 7 weeks. So, without further explanation, it looks like what we are celebrating on the festival of Shavuot has nothing to do with the revelation of the Torah, nothing to do with anything related to the harvest or anything. We are celebrating the fact that we finish the 7 weeks. Now, this is very meaningful for all of us who've been counting the Omer, for example, right? If you've been counting the Omer night after night for 49 nights, and if you, I enjoy counting the Omer very much and to reading little meditations every night when I count the Omer. So it feels nice to say, we are celebrating the fact that we finish that period of 7 weeks that we use as a spiritual development tool. That it was the most amazing gift from the rabbis. So it looks like the plain meaning of the words will be that we are celebrating this completion of the 7 weeks, the completion of the counting of the Omer. Okay? But it still will be nice to have an idea of what actually, if there is any other things that we are celebrating on that day. Welcome, Holy Mandelkern. Welcome to the class. So let's go to the next text to make this a little clear. Okay? Because there is another name that we use on Shavuot, and that is Atzeret. The Torah mentioned the word Atzeret, but not as the name of the holiday. The rabbis actually took that name, that word Atzeret, and sometimes referred to the holiday of Shavuot as Atzeret and not as Shavuot. We are talking about the rabbis now, Talmudic times. So there is always a question why the rabbis prefer sometimes to use the name Atzeret and not Shavuot. Well, let's see. Rabbi Berdichev, the Rebbe of Berdichev, actually, is giving us his opinion of why. He says, I was asked once, while in Lithuania, why the festival of Shavuot is called by the name Atzeret. This name is not used in the Torah except when referring to Shmini Atzeret, the last day of Sukkot. Again, we are talking about used as a name for a holiday, okay? Because we are going to see later on in the class that the name Atzeret is used in the Torah close to the definition of Shavuot, but not as the name of the holiday. But it is used, the word Atzeret, in the Torah as the name of Shmini Atzeret, which is a separate festival. Remember, Shmini Atzeret is at the end of Sukkot, right? So this name is not used in the Torah except when referring to Shmini Atzeret, the last day of Sukkot. We understand that all the festivals have names connected to the event that happened on that day. This is true for all festivals except Shavuot, which is named for the mitzvah of counting, which was already being completed. We must understand why this festival is named after something that has already happened, and the answer is because it is the conclusion of the mitzvah. This is also the reason for Shavuot, that we make a festival of the conclusion of the mitzvah of counting that God gave to us. For this reason, it's called Atzeret, completion. So, once again, for the rabbis, the process of counting that we do from Pesach until Shavuot is extremely important, especially once we finish that cycle and we hopefully got something from it. Hopefully it made an impact on the people counting the Omer every night. And then when you finish that process, when you are ready to receive the Torah, the rabbis call it Atzeret, because you have to feel that you are complete now. You see, the thing is, we many times, and this is human nature. Human nature. Many times we don't complete things. In fact, for some people, most of the time, people don't complete when they start. We have many projects. I mean, I'm pretty sure, I'm talking to all of you, I'm pretty sure if you look back to your life, there are many things that you started and never finished. Many things. So I believe what the Rebbe of Berdichev is saying here is sometimes when you start something and you finish it, and because you finish it, now you are better prepared for the next stage, that is something worth to be celebrated. And that is why one of the names of Shavuot is Atzeret, completion, because the accomplishment of completed something is a great thing and is worth to be celebrated. So again, if you counted the Omer and you finish the counting, celebrate yourself, little pat in the back, because it's a great thing. It's a great thing. Amparo Goldman, what do you say here? Atzeret, it also means oaths. When they say God swore eternal devotion to us, and we in turn pledge oath. Okay. Loyalty to him. Okay, it's interesting. I didn't know that one for the name Atzeret. So and again, if you see, for example, in the case of Sukkot, Shmini Atzeret, it's called the eighth that completes, right? Because it also completes the festival. It's at the end of Sukkot. Now, there is another thing that I learned once, and is that Shmini Atzeret and Shavuot are also connected in more than one way. For example, Shmini Atzeret happens after 7 days, right? You have the 7 days of Sukkot, and the day after is Shmini Atzeret, unless you're in the diaspora, and everything gets delayed for a day. But in Israel, first you have 7 days of Sukkot, and then you have the next day Shmini Atzeret. So it comes after a 7 days holidays. Shavuot, also called Atzeret, is coming after 7 weeks, right? You have the Passover, 7 weeks, not days, but weeks, and then you have Atzeret. So it also comes after a cycle of 7. Now, the other thing that is interesting is Shmini Atzeret in the Torah doesn't have a date. The Torah doesn't say when we should celebrate Shmini Atzeret. You will say after the 7th day of Sukkot. Okay? It's the same case with Shavuot. The Torah doesn't say when the date for Shavuot. It said you celebrate Shavuot after you count 7 weeks. So they are connected. Also, Shmini Atzeret, at least in Israel, in the diaspora, again, 2 days, but let's think in Israel terms. In Israel, Shmini Atzeret has Shmini Atzeret is also Simchat Torah. It's the day where we finish the Torah. And on Shavuot is the day where we receive the Torah. So again, Shmini Atzeret and Shavuot are connected in more than one way. Sometimes we don't think of those little details, but please remember that they are connected. Okay? Okay, very good. So this is one thing that we learn. One of the names is Atzeret, and it's also related to the counting of the Omer. Now, let's continue with this. The Rambam will say it. God commanded us to observe the festival of Matzot for 7 days. That's, again, I mentioned this before, but I always like to remind you, because we forget that the rabbis most of the time will call Pesach Festival of Matzot, Chag HaMatzot. Why? Because the Pesach is only the first night, the Seder. That's Pesach, when we used to sacrifice the Paschal lamb. The whole rest of the week is not Pesach anymore. It's Chag HaMatzot, the Festival of Matzot. We don't have, in the other days of Passover, we don't sacrifice the Pesach lamb. Okay? Just that's why they call it here Festival of Matzot and not Pesach. So God commanded us to observe the Festival of Matzot for 7 days, with sanctity at the beginning and at the end. Right? First day is Chag, then you have Chol HaMoed, and at the end is Chag again. And God counted 49 days after it, and God sanctified the 8th day. It means the day immediately after the 7 weeks. Like the 8th day of a festival of Sukkot. And the intervening counted days are like the Chol HaMoed, intermediate days between the first day and the last day of Sukkot. So, in other words, listen to this, because this is also, the Rambam is saying how connected that Pesach and Shavuot. You have to imagine that Pesach, the Passover, is the first day of Chag. Then the 49 days where we count the Omer is like a long Chol HaMoed. And then Shavuot is the last day of Chag. You understand? He says this is a Chag that lasts more than 50 days. With one festival at the beginning, one festival at the end, and in the middle, it's all Chol HaMoed. So the entire counting of the Omer, we should consider that it is like a Chol HaMoed. It's like intermediate days of Pesach or intermediate days of Sukkot. Okay? Then the Rambam continues. That 50th day is the day of the giving of the Torah, when God showed them his great fire and they heard God's word out of the fire. For this reason, our sages of blessed memory always call Shavuot Atzeret, because it is like the 8th day of Sukkot, which the Torah describes in that day. Okay, so it's a beautiful thing. Again, another connection between Shmini Atzeret and Shavuot, and I like that the Rambam considers all the days of the counting of the Omer as a long Chol HaMoed. Okay? So, now let's go and read from the Sefer HaChinuch. And again, Sefer HaChinuch is this wonderful book describing the 613 commandments in Judaism. This is something that we talk all the time. We always say, yeah, we have 613 mitzvot, commandments, but sometimes we don't really know what all the commandments are. Yes, we know that, for example, if I say observance of Shabbat, yes, it's a mitzvah, but which number? Which one of the 613 is the mitzvah of Shabbat, or lighting candles? Right? Every mitzvah has a number between 1 and 613. So the Sefer HaChinuch, there is also Sefer HaMitzvot. There are different editions, and the counting changes a little bit from one or the other. They're all 613, but which one are the mitzvot? Believe it or not, there's a little bit different between one book or the other. Depends who the author is of these books counting all the commandments. This one is the Sefer HaChinuch. It's talking about the mitzvah 306, and it says as following. For the entire essence of the Jewish people is only the Torah. Okay? Let me stop here for a second. The entire essence of the Jewish people is only the Torah. So in other words, well, and actually we already learned this when Moses went to talk to Pharaoh, right? The whole goal was to go to the mountain and to worship God, and we also understand that it was to receive the Torah. And Pharaoh said no to that. But the idea of delivering the Jewish people from slavery was to give them the Torah. And of course, then the ultimate goal to be to get that Torah and to enter to the land of Israel. Okay? The important thing here is the Torah, the one that will tell us what to do, will tell us what God wants us to do for our own good. So, for the entire essence of the Jewish people is only the Torah. And the heavens and earth and the Jewish people were created for its sake. And it is the reason that the Jews were redeemed from Egypt, so that they will receive the Torah on Sinai and fulfill it, as God told Moses. And this will be for you a sign that I have sent to you. When you take the nation out of Egypt, you will serve God on this mountain. Therefore, since the Torah is the essence of the Jewish people, and for its sake they were redeemed and reached the level of greatness that they attained, we were commanded to count from after the first day of Pesach until the day that the Torah was given, to show our great desire for the day that our hearts yearn for, as a slave yearns and counts the day until he will go free, because counting demonstrates that a person's whole desire is to reach that time. By the way, so mitzvah 306 is the counting of the Omer. Okay, but now again, it makes even more sense. Why we count the Omer? Because it's like a count up instead of a count down. It's a count up to the giving of the Torah. Now, why this is important? Hello, welcome Lee Solomon. Welcome to the class. Shalom. Why this is so important? Because here Sefer HaChinuch is mentioning that we received the Torah on Shavuot. But the Torah doesn't say anything about it. There is no biblical reference to Shavuot being the day of the giving of the Torah. I don't know if you realize that. The Torah calls it Chag HaShavuot, the festival of the weeks. And we already explained. It's talking about the completion of the counting of the Omer, which it was a mitzvah given in the Torah before. Right? After the first day of Pesach, count the 49 days, right? In days and weeks. And then at the end, it's Chag HaShavuot. We celebrate that we completed that. It makes sense that Rabbi Anibal said it. Again, the completion of the counting of the Omer, and blah, blah, blah. But now we read in Sefer HaChinuch, there is another layer. That is on Shavuot, we also receive the Torah. And again, there is the question of why? Why the Torah doesn't say anything about the revelation? And hopefully I will be able to answer that before the end of the class today, because there is a reason that the rabbis give for that. Okay? So do we have any questions so far? I've noticed that other than say hello, and a couple of comments, the chat has been very quiet. So I want to know, what do you think about that? And do you have any theory of why the Torah doesn't say anything about Shavuot being the day of the revelation of the Torah? Let me know. Okay. Keep thinking. I want to know if you have any theories of why the Torah doesn't say anything. Okay. Let's continue. Now, more layers for Shavuot. Okay. We read on Exodus 23:16, Chag HaKatzir Bikurei Ma'asecha. Next, the festival of harvest, the first fruits of your efforts sowing in the field. And last, the festival of ingathering at the end of the year, when you gather in from the fields the results of your efforts. Okay? So these are also one of the names of Shavuot. Shavuot is Chag HaBikurim, the festival of the first fruits. Why? Because there was not a tradition, it was a law, it was a mitzvah to bring the first fruits of the land to the temple as an offering, to the Kohen, to the priest. Okay? So this is something that we have to have in mind, that the Omer, when we started counting the Omer back in Pesach, back in Passover, 7 weeks ago, the Omer was the beginning of the barley harvest, and the 2 loaves offering was the beginning of the wheat harvest. The 2 loaves is Shavuot, okay? And that is why the holiday is called the Day of the First Fruits, which is very interesting. Now, what is interesting is that the loaves of bread that we used to present back in the time of the temple, made out of wheat, they are called the festival of the day of the first fruits, because bread is not a fruit, wheat is not a fruit, and yet it's called the festival, the first fruits. Holly Mandelkern, you say revelation. It's a long process that evolves and is ongoing. It's not just a one-time event. Maybe it's saying limiting the giving of the Torah. The one-time limits our idea of receiving it. Very interesting, Holly. Very interesting. And welcome Joseph Victor Vara from India. Welcome to the class. And Chag Sameach. I'm pretty sure, I don't know what time is in India. Let us know in the chat, but I'm pretty sure that the festival probably already began. Here in Winnipeg is 12:30 p.m. And we are going to start Shavuot in the evening with the tikkun. But now I'm curious. Okay. So let's continue. Okay. So we understand the Shavuot. We also call it the festival of harvest, but it's festival of the beginning of harvesting the wheat. And the other thing that we still have to answer is why the rabbis call wheat a fruit. Okay, again, if you have any theories of that, let me know in the chat. I think this is fascinating, the way the rabbi is trying to explain this. Okay, so let's see. Now, let me read this and I will explain. Bikurim, the first fruits, may not be brought before Shavuot. And this is also important, okay? The residents of Mount Zvoim brought their bikurim before Shavuot, and they were not accepted because the Torah says the festival of harvesting of the first fruit of your produce that you planted in the field. Okay, it looks like, again, different regions of the Middle East will have different dates for the harvest. Okay, there were probably some regions that they were more fertile. Maybe they could start harvesting wheat earlier. Same with the oats. It's all approximated, right? And so that's why the Torah says, let's put a fixed date for the harvest to celebrate the harvest, and that will be 7 weeks after Passover. So you cannot bring it before that. You cannot bring those bikurim. Okay? Now, but the other thing that the rabbis explain is bringing the first fruit of the 7 species to the temple and giving them to the Kohen. So they expanded. It's not just wheat. You have to bring the first fruit of the 7 species that grow in Israel, and you have to give them to the priests. Okay? So in this day and age, basically what we do, or some people do, they make donations for Shavuot. It's like a kind of celebration of the Bikurim. So that's what we do, because we don't have the temple anymore. So we cannot bring our harvest to the priest. But we still want to celebrate somehow the Bikurim. So some people make donations. Here in Winnipeg will be the Winnipeg Harvest, or other organizations that have something to do with food. Interestingly enough, I tried to bring the idea to the synagogue, but I was told that here in Winnipeg, the tradition is to make a big donation to Winnipeg Harvest for Yom Kippur, for the Day of Atonement, which is a day that we don't eat, we fast. So we think about people who are struggling, feeding themselves for their family during the year. So that's the time where we donate food to the food banks here in Winnipeg. But back at home in Argentina, Shavuot used to be a big day at school where we used to bring food to donate to the local food bank, and it was a beautiful thing. So there are always ways to reimagine all these mitzvot that they kind of became discontinued because we don't have the temple anymore. Okay? So again, the bikurim were the first fruits, and it wasn't necessarily a sacrifice. It was a gift that we will give to the priest back in the day of the temple. Remember, the priests and the Levites, they didn't have land. By law, they were not allowed to own land. So they pretty much relied on people's donations to survive. So all these things were very important in the context of that kind of society. So we always have to remember that. Okay? Now, the Talmud reveals yet another distinguishing feature of the holiday of Shavuot. The Mishnah tells us that there are 4 days during the year when God judges the world with regard to various things. Although the most famous is Rosh Hashanah, right? When judgment is pronounced in general on everyone in the world, there are certain natural phenomena for which individual days of judgments are designated. On Shavuot, God decrees how much fruit will be produced by the trees during the coming year. So Shavuot is also a day of judgment, which, by the way, it is also connected. Let's go back to Shmini Atzeret. Remember, I told you that at the end of Sukkot, which is the end of the high holidays. Actually, the end is the day before. It's Hoshana Rabbah, but it's also connected to the end of certain kind of judgment. And Shavuot is the day where God will decide how much fruits are going to be on the year. So there, the Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah 1:2 said there are 4 times each year that the world is judged, and Shavuot for the fruit of the trees. And you remember the other one is is for people, then is for Hoshana Rabbah is for rain, Shavuot is for fruit of the trees, and I can't remember the fourth. But there are different judgment times during the year. So remember, Shavuot is that. That's perhaps why there was a big thing to be generous with our first fruits as a sign that we are grateful for everything that God gives us. Let's continue. So, the Torah says to bring 2 loaves of bread on Shavuot in order that God will bless you for the fruit of the trees. The 2 loaves allude to the fruit of the tree because wheat is called a tree by the Torah. You see, here is, I don't want to explain, we still have to explain why wheat is called a fruit, right? Well, listen to this. Here it is, the fruit of the tree because wheat is called a tree by the Torah, as it says, from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. According to the opinion that the tree they ate from in the Garden of Eden was wheat. It wasn't an apple. According to the rabbis, the produce that Adam and Eve ate was wheat. They probably ate bread. I always knew that bread was evil. It's evil bread. Come on, guys. It's evil food. Okay, Rocky Pollack just said, so is there a vidui for abuse of Winnipeg's tree canopy? No, it's not. No, it is not. But the fact that we stay all night studying Torah, right? Now it starts making more sense. I believe so. The gift that we do studying Torah all night, it kind of bring a little bit of a serious tone to the holidays. But then when we read that it's also Day of Judgment, it kind of makes sense. Amparo, you said, our sages have taught us that the world was created only for the purpose of keeping the Torah. The Torah, yeah, and the mitzvot, of course. Karen Farkas, I thought it was a pomegranate. Yeah, there are many midrashim about that. But I guess during Shavuot, it makes sense for us to believe that, and especially if there is any kind of way that we can connect the two, to say that the wheat was something important. It was already mentioned earlier on in the Torah, and yeah. So back what I was saying before, if we believe the midrash that's saying that Adam and Eve ate from the wheat when God said don't eat from there, it makes sense that on Shavuot we have a tikkun. Tikkun means correction. Correction from what? Well, if we are talking about the mistake of Adam and Eve by eating something that was forbidden, then making a correction during of Shavuot, that is a day of judgment, makes sense. it makes sense. Even though the rabbis say that the reason why we study Torah all night is because the people of Israel failed to show up to receive the Torah, and Moses had to go to drag them to experience the revelation. Okay? But this also makes sense as well. Okay? Let's see. Next. Okay. Listen to this. You shall offer a new offering of 2 loaves to God. This is a sign that the day of the giving of the this is a sign of the day of the giving of the Torah, because the Torah must be new to a person as if he received it from Mount Sinai that very day. The reason that the Torah does not explicit, so now we are going to try to explain why the revelation of the Torah is not mentioned in the Torah. Okay? Who was the one who said that before? Let me go through the chat. Holly Mandelkorn. You were the one who said it. I want to show up here. This is what you said. Revelation is a long process that evolves and is ongoing. It's not just one-time event. Maybe saying that limiting the giving of the Torah to one-time limits our idea of receiving it. Very good, Holly. Let's see what the rabbis say about that same thing here. You shall offer, it says, the reason that the Torah does not explicitly mention that this is the day of the giving of the Torah, God did not want to limit the giving of the Torah to a single day. Okay? Because a person should feel every single day of the year as if he or she received the Torah from Mount Sinai on that day. Similarly, the sages have said that the word of Torah should be new to a person every day, not like something old which he can no longer tolerate. How many people we have like that, right? That they get tired of Torah. And then they leave Judaism. Sometimes they come back. Sometimes they don't. But they feel, okay, same old. And because they reach a point that they cannot extract fresh teachings from the Torah. And the rabbis are trying to desperately let us know that we have to make an effort to keep the Torah fresh, to keep the Torah inspiring. And the only way to do that is to keep studying. And sometimes what you have to do is you have to, you start from one teacher or one website in these days, and then you can switch to another one, so you have different perspectives. That's the way you keep it fresh. Okay, let's continue here. The truth is that one does indeed find something new in the Torah every day. Therefore, the Torah did not specify the day that it was giving apart from the hint in the word new, to teach that the Torah is like a new offering every day. Okay? So in other words here, when it says, I'm going back to the beginning of this text, right there, right at the beginning, you shall offer a new offering of 2 loaves to God. So, but it's also like the 2 loaves may be a reference to the 2 tablets of the law, but it's also the fact that, how, at least back in the day, you bake fresh bread every day. We don't like old bread. And that's a fact even to this day. We don't like it. It tastes funny, right? We avoid it. We try to have fresh bread. And that's why the hint there of new offering of 2 loaves to God. That's a beautiful thing. Now, the other thing that you have to remember, and I always like to acknowledge this at least, that is on Pesach, we were not allowed to eat bread. On Shavuot, we have to. It's all the opposite. We have to. On Pesach, the reason why we eat matzah is because the yeast symbolizes the ego. Right? The yeast. Again, I explained that what the yeast does. The yeast does when you make a dough is it will start a chemical reaction that it will add gas to the dough, so the dough will grow. Kind of like, when you have an arrogant person, and there's a nice coincidence. So an arrogant person, we say that they have the head full of hot air, right? because it's not real. It's something that, that's not the person. The person should be like matzah, like a plane without an ego. But then I was thinking, how is it possible that we're allowed to eat bread on Shavuot if the ego is such a bad thing? Well, and I believe that it also have to do with the counting of the Omer. After these 49 days, when we counted the Omer, when we worked on our values, on our midot, on our ethics, right? After you work with that, then we are ready to eat bread. Then yeast, it's not bad for you anymore. You don't have to eliminate it, you have to control it. That's the ultimate goal in life. We start in Pesach with eliminating it. But then on Shavuot, we prove ourselves that we don't really have to eliminate anything from our lives. What we have to do is to learn to control it. Judaism doesn't believe on eliminating the Yetzer Hara, for example, the evil inclination. We learn that we have to learn to deal with a good inclination and evil inclination, but both inclination, they have to be on our hands and not the other way around. We have to be in control. But in order to do that, we have to work on it for a long time, for 49 days. Okay? Let's continue. Thank you, Joseph. Now, listen to this. This is very interesting as well. Rabbi Yehoshua, this is from the Talmud now, okay? Rabbi Yehoshua says that being happy on a festival is also a mitzvah. We know this. There is even a song about it. It says, Mitzvah gedola lihot besimchot tamid. It's a mitzvah, it's a great mitzvah to be happy all the time, but specifically on the holidays. That's why, for example, on a festival, we are able to do some cooking, while on Shabbat we are not. Because Shabbat is not necessarily described as a day of joy, it's described as a day of rest. But the festivals are described in the Torah as a day of joy. That's why we have more flexibility on the kind of food and how we prepare it for the festival that we don't have on Shabbat. Okay? So it's interesting. So it's a mitzvah to be joyous all the time, but even more so during the festivals. Okay. As it was taught, Rabbi Eliezer says that on a festival a person should either, listen to this, either eat and drink or sit and learn Torah. Okay? You have to choose what makes you happy. Because at the end of the day, it's what makes you happy. But you have to choose. You either, on a festival, eat and drink or you study. Rabbi Yeshua said, no. Sorry, Rabbi Eliezer, I don't agree with you. Rabbi Yeshua said that he should divide the day. Half the day for eating and drinking, and half the day for sitting in the Beit Midrash and learning Torah. They both derive their position from the same verse. One verse says, it is atzeret, gathering, ceasing, for the Lord your God. Okay? And so Rabbi Eliezer holds that these two verses, atzeret for the Lord your God, and the other verse says, it shall be an atzeret for you. Okay, the word atzeret appears twice. It says one is for the Lord, the other one says for you. Rabbi Eliezer holds that these two verses indicate that a festival should be dedicated either all for God or all for you. Rabbi Yeshua holds that you should divide the day, half for God and half for you. Rabbi Eliezer said that everyone agrees that on Shavuot, for you is also required. Why? Because it is the day that the Torah was given. So, which is interesting, right? It's interesting. That's even Rabbi Eliezer, that I said you have to choose, will say, but on Shavuot, you have to do it an extra for you, because it's the day that the Torah was given. But I like the words of Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua, where he said that in every festival we should find a balance. And we have to feed our bodies and feed your souls. Our souls, both are important. And remember, as I just mentioned before, in Judaism, we don't believe on eliminating one or the other. In Judaism, we believe in a balance. It should be a balance between body and soul. So we have to feed the body, eating and drinking, and feed the soul by studying Torah, especially in Shavuot, when we are receiving the Torah. And Para Goldman, you said, yes, we should be studying Torah daily. King David, in every Shabbat, he will sit and study Torah all day. Well, I hope that's true about King David. He was a very interesting character. But yeah, I guess if we take it for the beautiful songs that he wrote, yeah, he knew a little bit of Torah. He knew it. So Rashi explains this by saying, we also require for you, because a person rejoices with food and drink, to show that the day that Israel received the Torah is pleasing and enjoyable. So I don't know if you already made arrangement for Shavuot, but treat yourself on Shavuot. Treat yourself. Go get some cheesecake. Go get some blintzes. Go get some cheese knishes, because we eat lots of dairy on Shavuot. Why dairy? Well, there are many theories about why dairy. I don't know if you knew about this. The most interesting one, it says that because on Shavuot God revealed the Torah, one of the commandments in the Torah was how to slaughter the animals properly. You know how to make shechita, the special cut that the Jewish butchers will do to slaughter the animal, and then you have to drain the animal for all the blood, and that takes training, so nobody was sure how to do it. So to avoid any risk of transgressing the Torah on day one of the revelation, they decided to eat just dairy products. It was a safe thing to do, instead of trying to go and figure it out quickly how to slaughter things to make it kosher. So that's one explanation why we eat dairy products on Shavuot. We have a couple of comments here. Let's see. Randy Lodinger says, as the Friday night prayer says, God didn't give bread, he made wheat. So the people will have to gather it to make bread to feel they have created too. Very nice. Thank you, Randy. Rocky Pollack. Isn't every Shabbat like that? We pray, we make kiddush, pray again, shlosh sehudot, three meals, etc. Yeah, we do it. We do it on Shabbat, but on the festivals, it should be like not only that, but also that has to bring joy to us. And so we're allowed to have even fancier foods on the festivals that we cannot have in Shabbat sometimes if you follow a very strict Shabbat, because you will have problems to cook and heat on Shabbat. So on the festivals, you take it to a different level. Karen Farkas, unfortunately, dairy gives me migraines. I also don't eat most meat, so I'm just parv. Okay. And they are very interesting and very delicious parv cheesecakes out there. I tried once and it was quite good. And I guess in these days, everything has so much sugar that sugar masks any other ingredient, unfortunately. Everything is full of sugar and salt. Welcome to the 21st century. Let's continue. So, Shavuot is a very holy festival when God sanctified us with His Torah and mitzvot and selected us from amongst the nations to be His treasured nation. If it's not for this day, we would have been like Sodom and Gomorrah, and the heavens and earth will not have been able to exist. Thus, it is appropriate to rejoice on this day. It is impossible not to rejoice, because the Torah and mitzvot are better for us than all the good things in this world and that the entire life on the next world. I'm going to explain that in a minute. But let me explain, what is it that we have to celebrate that we are not like Sodom and Gomorrah? Well, this is very interesting. It's implying here that without the guidance of the Torah, perhaps our fate will start decaying more and more and more until we will become extinct, like Sodom and Gomorrah. But we're alive. We're alive. Here we are, studying Torah. Why is that? Because the Torah serves us as our guideline for generation to generation to generation until here we are. So we have to celebrate that we are alive, and we owe our life to the guidance of Torah. So when we celebrate the revelation of the Torah, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to give thanks to God. It's almost like when you thank your doctor after a surgery, or after the doctor discover what you have and give you the right medicine and you recover, and then you thank the doctor for that medicine, because without that medicine, who knows where you will be? Without that surgery, who knows where you would be? So with the Torah, it's the same. Without the guidance of the Torah, who knows where we would be? Maybe we wouldn't even exist as a nation. But God gave us the Torah. God guided us to the promised land. And here we are. Here we are, still strong, still committed, still celebrating the festivals of the Torah. So this is a new opportunity to give thanks. But I want to explain the last words of Rabbi Mansour here. Okay? What it says that he says, it is impossible not to rejoice because the Torah and mitzvot are better for us than all the good things of the world. Okay, I can understand that. But then it says, and then the entire life of the next world. So basically it says that the kind of joy that you get from the Torah, it's even better than the bliss of the world to come. It's very interesting. So I have a story about that somebody was taught this teaching, and had a very interesting question for his rabbi. And perhaps I'm going to close the class with this next text. Listen to this. A rabbi once delivered a lecture in which he remarked that a person who provides the funds from Torah study will enjoy the same reward in the next world as the Torah scholars themselves. After his lecture, he was approached by a wealthy man who challenged him. Rabbi, why should I bother to exert myself to study Torah? All I have to do is to make donations to the Torah institution, and I'll be assured immeasurable reward in the world to come. Easy peasy. Money I have, right? Time I don't, so I don't need to study Torah. The rabbi regarded the wealthy man with an expression of utter seriousness and responded, it's true that your portion in the world to come will be the same, but your life in this world will not be comparable. So even if you can guarantee an eternal life of bliss after you pass, after you leave this world, we still have, God willing, long years on this earth. So how are you going to infuse those years with meaning? How you infuse those years with values, with good things? That's why the Torah is here with us. By studying Torah, hopefully we'll have the answers on how to live a life of meaning, to the point that the life in this world could be compared to the life in the world to come. It's great to know that we will have bliss in the world to come, but it's also good to know that we can have spiritual bliss right here, right now. And that's why I believe it's very important to commit ourselves to Torah study during the year. So thank you to all of you who've been coming here week after week after week to study with me. And this is how we do it. We commit ourselves to study Torah and to find meaning in life through the study of Torah. So thank you everyone for coming today. I'm gonna expand myself here. And so it's great to have you. Remember, the tikkun is tonight. If you are coming to Shaare Zedek, the service will start at 6, and the service will be streamed. The tikkun will not, because it's in a different room and we don't have cameras there. So unfortunately, we won't be able to stream the tikkun. Okay, so I would like to encourage all of you at least to attend to all our services for Shavuot. So we have tonight at 6 p.m. the eve of the first night of Shavuot with Cantor Leslie Emery. Tomorrow morning is at 9 a.m. also at Temple Shalom. And Rabbi Green is visiting us, so he will be there with us tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow, which is Friday, at 5:30 p.m. is the Kabbalat Shabbat, but then we move to the Bernie Theater for that because we have great things planned with a dinner. And again, Rabbi Green will be part of all these events. And then Saturday morning, 10 a.m., Bernie Theater, don't miss it. Great service, Shabbat, Shavuot, Iskor, and the graduation of Choosing Judaism. Hopefully you will be there with us, celebrating Shavuot and welcoming all our new brothers and sisters that they are graduating from the Choosing Judaism class. So thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Chag Shavuot Sameach. And of course, Shabbat Shalom if I don't see you before. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Bye for now.